Welcome. My name is Chris Davis. I am a ketogenic carnivore coach, and today I just want to talk about lies about nutrition that just won't seem to die. So there are tons of videos out there. This is my top 9. Take it for what you will. I've seen lists as long as 30, which, good grief, we are in trouble. So the first lie is that you need fiber for your gut. You absolutely do not. There is zero requirement for fiber for your gut. I wasn't able actually to find any randomized control trials, so if you find one, please do share it. I'm always willing to learn. This chart was provided by a video that I watched that Dr. Paul Mason had given on this exact topic. I do apologize. He does a much better job in explaining it than I will. So what they did is they took individuals with IBS. I am one of those individuals with IBS, so I found it fascinating. They looked at their baseline diet and conditions. How did they deal with constipation, straining, opening, bloating, anal bleeding, and pain, which never had that fourth one, so yay me. And then they went and they said, okay, you people are on high fiber, you people are on reduced fiber, and you people are on no fiber. They watched them, and then wouldn't you know it, the people that were on a zero fiber diet got rid of all their IBS symptoms. So really, you need fiber. Sounds like for me, being IBS individual, that I need to steer clear as much as possible. One thing that people forget, so I am ketogenic. I kind of go between keto to more restrictive carnivore and back again, just depending on what I got going in my life. But you got to be careful because some of the low carb foods are actually high in fiber. Right? So you have your soluble, insoluble, right? Can be absorbed, can't be absorbed by the body. And I honestly just try to steer clear of all of these. I used to eat almond flour pancakes, right? I used to do almond milk, and I couldn't understand why I had bloating and gas every time. Well, it's a couple things. One, almonds in particular are high in fiber, but they also are high in oxalates. So I do not do any almond anything anymore. I just entirely steer clear of it. You'll have to determine what's right for you. So lie number 2 is that you can be vegan and healthy. So what does it mean to be vegan? It means that you do not consume animal products, right? So vegetarians, they'll maybe have some fish, maybe have some eggs or some cheese, and all the rest of it is plant products. But a vegan just totally is just plant products, right? So the phrase was coined in 1944 by a gentleman named Donald Watson. He's the one that determined vegan as an actual description. First, just it's a subset of vegetarian. For example, I'm ketogenic, but a subset of that is carnivore. So why do I say that this is a lie? Well, if you look at this list, in general, these are nutrients that you cannot get from plants. All right, for example, B12, you can't get. There's zero potential to get B12 from plant products. So what happens is vegans have to supplement. So in my mind, if you have to supplement, then you are not eating the way you were designed to eat. Right? Because supplements have only been around for 100, 120 years, which is why being vegan wasn't a thing. Because you're not healthy, right? If you have to supplement, then the way you're eating is not correct. Lie number 3, ketogenic diets are for short-term gains. Now, it's excellent it seems to heal any disease that we have out here in the West, right? I love that they're calling them Western diseases. Partly because we remove the Western part of the system, right? So you're dropping the junk food that's so common, right? So no cookies, cakes, chips, crackers. You're definitely not having any bread, rice, oatmeal, potatoes. So no high starchy, no high sugar foods. Now remember, all grains, plants, and fruits turn to sugar in the body. So you may not be adding table sugar, and it may not have added sugar, but that doesn't mean you're not intaking sugar. But it's mostly because I believe we just return to the way that God designed us to eat. So lie number 4, ketogenic diets are not sustainable. Really? So what time limit do we give to sustainability? Because I've been ketogenic now for 13 years, and I will argue this claim all day that I am sustaining a ketogenic lifestyle at 13 years and counting, right? But people want their excuse, right? You have people, they went ketogenic, say for 6 months, a year. They reversed their type 2 diabetes. They came off their insulin. Maybe they lost 50 pounds. And it's like, yeah, but I really want those chips. Okay, you've made a choice, right? I make a choice to remain healthy. That's my choice. You make your choice. But don't say that the diet's not sustainable because you can't sustain it, right? We all make our choice, and they all come with a consequence. So lie number 5 is that you need carbohydrates to be an athlete. That is a big bullshit. I grew up, right, 70s, 80s, where you carb load. You have that pasta the night before or 2 nights before your activity, right? I was a runner, right? I ran cross country, track and field. I also did volleyball, basketball, softball, right? I was an athlete. And I couldn't understand why I always didn't feel good, right? I've had IBS for as long as I can remember. Like literally, I remember episodes in junior high school not feeling good, but I didn't understand, right? So now, like I said, ketogenic 13 years. In that time, I've completed an 8-mile swim. Last year for my 50th birthday, I did 50 100-yard swims on a 15-second break. I work out every day, right, or exercise every day, whether it's body weight or I have kettlebells, dumbbells, right? I am exercising. Now, I'm not trying to go out and be an Olympic swimmer. I'm a 5'5", average Olympic swimmer. I think for a female is 5'10". So I'm a little bit lacking in that, and the fact that I'm 51. Good Lord. So if you're interested in the carnivore diet and what it's like to be an athlete, I would suggest that you watch Dr. Anthony Chaffee and Dr. Sean Baker, right? Sean Baker is 58 years old. Dude's a beast. You watch some of the shit he does at 58. Fuck, there's 20-year-olds that can't do that shit, right? And they're like, wow, that's not a professional athlete. Because the professional athletes are doing their thing, and unless they're a vegan, they're not talking about it, right? That's the one thing you know about when someone's a vegan is because they'll tell you. Lie number 6. Humans are omnivores. Well, true, but there's a caveat to it. So, first off, what does it mean to be an omnivore? Well, it's an animal that is naturally able to eat both plants and meat. Okay, fair enough, right? That makes sense. So then I looked, well, let's see what some synonym and antonyms are, right? So synonyms are similar words, antonyms are opposites. And wouldn't you know that according to the dictionary, synonyms for omnivore are carnivore, animal. Antonyms for omnivore are vegetarian, vegan, herbivore. So, why bring that up? Well, if you look at our digestive system, you take a carnivores, you take an herbivores, what does a human digestive system more closely resemble? A carnivore or herbivore? If you say carnivore, you would be correct. We more closely identify with a carnivore digestive system than we do an herbivore. So that's where I believe it dispels the argument that somehow humans think they're so special that they can be anywhere between a vegan and carnivore and be healthy. No, we're not designed that way. How's the term omnivore manipulated? Well, it's easy, right? The people have interpreted that in the plant-based community that we can survive either on plants or animals. But that's not the case if you look at our digestive system. We are designed to eat meat. That's why I can get all the nutrition I need from eating beef. I could eat nothing but beef for the rest of my life and have zero nutrient deficiencies. So the way I teach, because I do understand and I accept that we have a large intestines, right? It's a third of the size of our small intestines, but we have a large intestine. So why would God have given us a large intestines if we weren't able to deal with some plants? Right? Now, granted, because our small intestines is 3 times bigger or longer, technically, we are designed to eat animal products, because the small intestines where the animal products digest, whereas the large intestines is where the grains and veggies digest, right? The fructose part of the fruit goes through the liver. But understanding that and looking at how we're designed, the way I teach it is 80% or more animal product, 20% or less plant product. And if you do that, and you'll have to, work your wiggle room and go, you know what, I do better doing 100% animal. Perfect. Do it. Right? I do better with an 80-20 split. Perfect. Do that. But understand that if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can't be successful and healthy and thriving unless you supplement. Okay, there's a gal in Australia that killed her 2-year-old because she forced him to be vegan, and he died of malnutrition. So, understand, we were designed to eat meat. Okay, lie number 7. Eating all that red meat, you're going to have a heart attack. Well, I would encourage you, look up Framingham Heart Study, conducted in the 1950s. And so what they determined or figured out is that dietary cholesterol, so saturated fat, did not have an impact on the amount of cholesterol in the body. And we need cholesterol. Okay, we need cholesterol for our brain. We need cholesterol for essential functions in our body. But it's not the saturated fat that's causing the heart disease. So he postulated that it was sugar. And so, like any good company would do, the sugar industry paid 3 Harvard professors to say that fat was the problem and not sugar. And so from there you have, boom, an explosion of all these Western diseases because we moved away from what we're designed to eat, which is animal products, and we moved towards this plant-based bullshit. Lie number 8. You have to eat breakfast shortly after you wake up to rev up that metabolism. What? No. Right? So first, what is metabolism? Right? It's how your body turns food and drink into energy to keep you alive and functioning, right? So you have a certain amount of energy, basal metabolic rate, right, that just keeps you ticking. Right? It keeps your heart pumping. It keeps your muscles contracting, right? It keeps you able to be alive. However, it's not necessary to eat as soon as you get up, right? It's not like, oh, well, drain that tank overnight. Now I got nothing. No, our ancestors would sometimes go days, right? If you had shitty hunters in your tribe, right? Or maybe the animals were just evading you. You did not eat every day. And the population should have just been annihilated if that's the case, that we have to get up and eat something, right? But you got to give it to them because this was a fantastic marketing ploy, right? By companies to sell their oatmeal and their cereal, right? Breakfast, the best start of your day. Yeah, I have breakfast anywhere between, well, it depends on the day, right? 8 a.m. to noon. That's when I'll have breakfast. And I typically get up, work out in a fasted state. So if that's the case that I have to eat breakfast as soon as I wake up, like I should be dropping every time that I work out without eating anything. But I don't. Here I am. Lie number 9. You need small, frequent meals. Again, and this goes kind of back to the metabolism part, right? So you don't, right? What you need is proper nutrition, right? You need to get all the vitamins and minerals that you need for the day and to be able to maintain your health. That's what you need. You don't need to eat 6 small meals a day. So some people find out they do really well on 1 meal a day. Good for you, bless your heart. I'm not one of those, right? Some people, they do better on 3 meals a day. So good on you. The key is the nutrients in the food, not the number of meals that you have to eat the food. I don't promote 6 meals a day. If the body is always digesting, right, it's constantly digesting, then it's not having autophagy. It's not saying, hey, you damaged, broken down, corrupt cells, we're going to get rid of you and we're going to make some new cells so we're healthier, right? You can't do that if all you're doing is digesting and digesting and digesting, right? Which is why one of the other things that I do is I do intermittent fasting. Right. Actually, I call it cyclic fasting because it's anywhere between 14 and 30 hours. Just depends on what I got going on. But I don't go more than or closer than 14 hours from the time I have dinner till when I have breakfast. It's at least 14 hours. And honestly, right now, I've just been having 2 meals a day. Right. So I got up this morning, slept in till 6, went and worked out. Had breakfast, bacon and eggs with Mexican cheese as usual, farted around, did chores, went and swam, had my dinner, which is always a ribeye steak and a small romaine lettuce because I don't have a gallbladder and I can't seem to figure out my protein fats to where I don't have diarrhea. So if someone knows how to remedy that, that'd be helpful. So that's my list. That's my 9 lies that just won't die. Moral of the story, do your homework. I mean, seriously, if you look at how we are, especially in America, right? I can't speak for other countries mainly because I don't know what the hell they're doing. But here in America, they have people addicted to shit that is not food, right? It shouldn't be eaten by anyone. Right? I always laugh when they say, well, don't feed your dog table food, right? Because in general, my dogs have bacon and eggs every morning with me and they share some of my steak for dinner because that's actual food and it's what they should be eating because that's another thing. And maybe I'll try to do some research on and a story on that is that dogs are carnivore. They didn't used to get cancer. They didn't used to get arthritis until we started feeding them dog food that has grains and beans and rice and shit that dogs don't eat. They are not designed to eat. I'm here to hopefully shed more light on the lies that we have been told about nutrition. Okay, a bonus lie that they've told us is listen to your doctor. Okay, everything I've seen, most doctors get 2 weeks of nutrition in medical school. And I'm sorry, I am not going to take nutrition advice from a fat, overweight doctor. Okay, that's like taking investment advice from a poor person. Sorry, those don't match, right? So don't believe it just because someone has a stethoscope around their neck, and a scrub hat on, making a video that, oh, they know what they're talking about, just automatically. Because that's a frustration as well, right? That's another lie that unless you're a doctor, you can't speak to nutrition. Well, I'm a certified nutrition coach, so there's that. Anyways, with that, I hope this video helped someone. Please put in the comments if there's another video topic that you would like me to cover. I would be more than happy to give it a go anyways. With that, I wish you a blessed day.